Right. Well, and I also think like, yes. And one of my big things is do less better. And I've said that for the last 10 years. And this kind of idea that it's not just about doing less. It's not just about cutting things out, but like being, like you said, being more intentional with the things we're putting on our calendar. And so I think that like, yes, there is a level of I have to be willing to, or you have to be, or whoever is, it's like, okay, I want to do this thing, whatever that is, whether it's the book, whether it's a new course, whether it's, something in your community, whatever it is, it's like, okay, I want to do this thing. Like, yes, you have to, the saying, like to say yes to something, you have to say no to something else. It's like, yes, you have to put it aside. But I also think there's this piece, and we see this, go around on, the meme go around on social media, every once in a while, where it's like your jar and it's putting the rocks into the jar. There's like a professor standing at the front of the classroom doing this example. And one of the things that I see entrepreneurs do, myself included, is that we have this jar, and the jar is your available time, and we start filling it with little pebbles and sand. Because that's the replying to the email. That's the
social media
sending
posts,
out the social media
posts,
doom scrolling, sending out the weekly newsletter, maybe even client work. Maybe a bigger pebble is like the client work. But and what I was doing and what I did for all of 2022 is I had this big rock of write a book that I wanted to fit into the jar. But I kept saying, okay, let me put all the sand and the little rocks in the jar. And then if there's room, I'll put the big rock in. Well, there was never room. There was never room for the big rock. But all I had to do is switch the order that I was putting things in. And I had to start with the empty jar and put the rock in first, put the time to write the book in the jar first, then put the pebbles in, and they fit in around the cracks and they filled in the gaps. Then pour the sand in, and the sand, all of those little nagging tasks that we have to do, those filled in the cracks. So again, the big thing I talk about in the book is it's not about doing more, but I think that the order in which you fill your jar is I don't feel like I neglected a huge part of my life or a huge part of my business. I just reordered the way I was putting things into my schedule.
I think this is such a huge difference maker, because it's so easy for us to get stuck in the smaller tasks. And one of the things that you have both shared as part of the framework of the business of focus sessions, and then also the content within the focused book, is that there are sort of these 3 buckets that you can work in, which is your deep work bucket, your planning bucket, and then your clear the deck bucket. And so, y'all, I've been to enough focus sessions. I can do this off the top of my head. Deep work is what we're talking about here. It's the things that you need to be able to really zone in on them and spend that dedicated time, because you don't want to be interrupted. And then planning is another one of these silos or buckets, where it's like, you need to know what you're doing, because otherwise you're just going to pick up the easiest kind of short term.
And you just spin your wheels.
And then there is also that time where you dedicate to clear the deck, which is sort of like, okay, what are all the little things that I do need to get done? Not just in my business, but in my life. Like yesterday I had to, during my clear the deck session, I was like, I need to update the immunization records for my kids to go to camp. It needs to happen. It's probably only going to take 2 minutes to download it from one portal and upload it to the camp portal. But like, if I make that the first thing that I do on a Monday morning, and then it just ends up being these little tiny tasks all day long and nothing big gets done, right? So
it's a rabbit hole.
Exactly. So one of the things that I've learned from you is like putting the emphasis, planning in advance. Okay, I have a bunch of little shit that I need to get done. Like, when is that happening? Great, that's happening Thursday from 12 to 1:30 p.m. I will get done all of the household paperwork tasks and like order the kids' pictures and get the, whatever it is, send in the money to the school for the pizza parties at the end of the year. Like, all of that can be batched into one, instead of like having it fit into these tiny little pockets that add up and take away the focus from, oh, I need to go finish this client project. I need to really spend time building this part of my website. I need to check in with my team. Like, what are the things for me that are the deep work where I cannot be interrupted versus what are the like deck clearing tasks of just like, okay, I need to check things out.
Exactly. You're putting that sand or those small little pebbles in the jar before you put the big rock in the jar.